What's up, friends? Brian Fanzo, iSocial Fans here. And we're going to talk about creating dynamic video presentations without a script. And I know that can be overwhelming because for a lot of us, we've been told that, it needs to be interactive and we need to maintain the audience's attention. And there's all this technology and how do we share our slides and we can't see the audience. And a lot of these things can become very overwhelming. And so I'm going to walk you through a couple steps that I do. And then my secret that has a little bit to do with, a sticky note that I think you guys are going to be able to implement with every single video and presentation that you work on. So first off, what I really want to kind of set the stage for here and what you see is how do we set up ourselves for success? I think one of the things with video and virtual presentations is we don't really decide and define what success looks like from the beginning. And so just to define what success looks like, we have to first understand who is our audience, who are the people we're talking to, what is their baseline of knowledge? Like how much do they know about our subject matter on average so that we can kind of present that because we don't have that live audience nonverbal cue. So that's a very important step to understand who they are. The second one you see there, which is expectations, right? What are the expectations the audience has of us as a presenter, but also what do we expect from the audience, right? And we have to be able to understand those expectations and set new ones if that needs to change, right? If we want the audience to be interacting and engaging on the computer, answering questions, we need to make sure they know that we need them in front of the computer and they can't just have an AirPod in walking around their house. The third one that you see right here is where. Where is the audience going to be consuming this content? Is it on their laptop? Is it on their iPad or their mobile device? Are they going to be walking around? Are they in their office? Are they managing kids that are homeschooling? Really understanding that environment allows us to be empathetic. And then the last one here is environment. And more so, our environment as speakers and presenters, right? Setting ourselves up so that we know the best way for us to present. For me, it's always standing. It's where I'm able to really generate the most energy. It's where I'm allowed to move in or move out from the video. And so for me, this is a vital piece of the puzzle because as we are presenting, as we're going to delivering our content, we need to make sure that it sets us up to do the things that we do best. Now, as we look at that, right, we have those general questions answered. Now we need to set up and our ability to test, tweak, and repeat. And before we can test, tweak, and repeat, we have to define what success is, right? So we take all of the things in the previous slide, and now we start writing down, what does success look like? What is success going to be if I deliver this presentation, right? What are the takeaways? What are the goals? What is the event asking from me? Maybe I have a goal for what I want the audience to, walk away with, right? And then we have to map out some of those goals so that they're measurable. I think this is one of the steps we often skip is we define success, but we don't have goals that we can actually measure so that we can actually see if we actually achieve that success. And then the third one is identifying the requirements. What are the requirements needed for us to be really successful? For me, for a lot of my presentations, I need the audience to understand how I'm using something like Prezi video. So one of my requirements is I need to send out a video ahead of time educating the audience on what they can expect so that I can kind of level set those expectations as I mentioned before. And then, of course, the last piece you see here, relatable and memorable. You want to start outlining, what is the data and research that I want to use for this presentation? What are the stories that I plan on telling that I think will, allow me to be relatable with the audience, but also be memorable? Maybe what's a piece of humor? Either, a meme, a GIF, a joke, or in my case, usually it's self-deprecating humor. And then the last one, what is the technology needed for me to deliver this presentation successfully, right? Do I need a wireless microphone? Do I need multiple web cameras? And I will argue for most cases, a standard ring light, a web camera, and a desktop microphone can be all we need to create really dynamic, engaging presentations. And then the part that probably is the most important and what I call, the sticky 5, which you see here. The sticky 5 is for every presentation that I give, I put out on the sticky note right underneath my camera. So I take that and I put it right underneath the camera, the 5 things these 5 bullets, right? The first 3 bullets are, what are the takeaways that I want the audience to have? I usually don't make full sentences. I just kind of put some, quick hitting things because what this allows me to do is it allows me to tell a story, but then come back and go, okay, where am I at? What are the things I need to make sure to cover? And the other part that's really nice about this is when you get to the end of the presentation, you can actually recap your presentation by just going through those takeaways, and then you're doing a great job of reiterating those things that are the most important from our presentation. And then the fourth bullet point that you see there is data and research, right? What is the data point that I'm going to use that's going to back up my takeaways, but it's going to allow me to kind of validate my thoughts, maybe shift the perspective of the audience. And the last one is that I mentioned before is making sure that you have that story or that piece of humor that kind of connects people and allows people to, I like to say, lean in when they're watching their virtual presentation. And so, of course, to practice what I'm kind of preaching here, this is kind of my 5 that I wanted to kind of put at the end here to make sure I could recap. And so to create a really dynamic, engaging virtual presentation or video, it could be for sales, it could be for a webinar, or it could be just for your next conference call that you're giving. You need to define what success is. You need to manage expectations of the audience, what you're expecting from them, and also making sure that you understand what they're expecting from you. You're going to test, tweak, and repeat, because the only guarantee with doing something live or something like this is that something will go wrong. So you're going to want to test it. You're going to want to tweak kind of the messaging and how things are going. And then lastly, you're going to want to create swim lanes. And what I mean by that is give yourself a little bit of wiggle room so that you can be, the one thing that makes you unique, which is yourself. And so that script usually keeps us contained, or sometimes we're this video has to be 5 minutes long. But I think if we can give ourselves swim lanes, which allows us to bob and weave, but ultimately still get to the other end of the pool. And then last but not least is create your sticky 5, the 5 things that you want to make sure that you include in every presentation. 3 takeaways, 1 piece of data or research, and then last but not least, either a story or a piece of humor. My name is Brian Fanzo, iSocial Fans. I'm excited to team up with Prezi Video, who is what I used to create this really cool presentation. Took me about 30 minutes or so to just put those things together, put the graphics there, add a little bit of my own branding. And now we're rocking and rolling. We have the overlays on screen. It works on every platform as long as you have a camera enabled. So definitely check it out and check out the comments. I actually have a link there down in the comments for you to get a 6-month free upgrade to Prezi Video. So you guys can really take these tools and these tips and add some really interactive elements, some really dynamic variables to your presentation, and hopefully create presentations that help the audience lean in and create that dynamic experience. Cheers, my friends.